Oh, jeez.
All right, welcome everyone to the June 13th regular business meeting. Can I have a motion to call the meeting to order, please? So moved, Linda. Second, Shanna. All in favor? Aye. And may I please have a motion to move into executive session to discuss bargaining negotiations? So moved, Jen. Second, Shanna. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. We'll be back in an hour.
All right.
May I have a motion to come out of executive session, please? Moved by Shanna and a second by Mike. All in favor? Aye. Okay, everybody please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We just have one amendment to the agenda, and it will be under board business. And we will add the resolution to address part 1, 2, 3 of the Commissioner's regulations. That is the only amendment. So with that, can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please? Mike, and a second? By Carol, all in favor? Aye. All righty. And let's see, our first up is our liaisons. I see them in the audience.
Hi, ladies.
Hi, girls.
Good evening, everyone. On Wednesday, June 7th, the seniors started off their day with a nice breakfast in the cafeteria. Class officers presented paper plate awards and Georgie P. sang for the class. Shortly after, the 80 or so students who registered for the senior trip loaded up the buses and departed for our trip to Keuka Lake. Despite the poor air quality and colder weather, we made the best of it. We stayed inside for the vast majority of Wednesday playing board games, making bracelets, and tie-dyeing t-shirts. The food was not as bad as we had anticipated, which was good. And on Thursday, we were able to enjoy outdoor activities as the air quality had improved immensely. Seniors enjoyed ziplining, kayaking, pickleball, basketball, foursquare, and many other fun activities that Camp Corey had offered. A memorable part of the trip was when members of the football team forced Mr. Benz to go down the giant slip and slide with them. In spite of getting a lot of soap in his eyes, Mr. Benz really enjoyed it, along with many others who decided to go. Mr. Benz and faculty members organized a food eating contest that consisted of sardines and olives, as well as the renowned pasta dish that Buddy the Elf ate. While some people struggled to keep the food down, it was pretty entertaining for the rest of us to watch. It was definitely sad to leave, but we were all exhausted and ready to go home. Camp Corey was truly an unforgettable trip, and we are thrilled for the future senior classes to be able to go and create memories with their friends. Thank you to all who made the senior trip such an amazing and noteworthy experience. The girls' flag football team season came to a close with a loss over Thomas. The girls had an impressive season with respect to both their performance and the fact that this year was the first year flag football was incorporated into Section 5. We are excited to see the sport continue to expand. Congratulations to Thomas over their win. On another note, Schrader is proud to have 2 state champions for girls track and field this year. Congratulations to Corinthia G for winning the triple jump and Cameron C for winning the long jump. The spring concert took place on Monday, June 5th. The select vocal ensemble, concert band, and Philharmonic Orchestra performed together for the final concert of the year. All seniors wore flower pins for their last final high school concert. This concert also marks Mrs. Morales' retirement from teaching middle school orchestra at Spry. She joined the Philharmonic Orchestra for her own final performance. We wish her well in retirement and hope the seniors continue to pursue musical talents at college. The senior ball was a night to remember, featuring stunning outfits, good food, and a fabulous venue. May 20th may have been a gloomy day, initially with pouring rain and gray skies, but it cleared up just in time for the event. Bausch & Lomb's Winter Garden was gorgeous. Its glass walls and ceilings gave guests a wonderful view of the city and night sky. We greatly appreciate the hard work that the class officers and advisors put into making the ball such a success. The junior prom took place on Saturday, June 3rd at Cary Lake. The event was an unforgettable experience for our students. The class of 2024's officers and advisors' planning and dedication ensured a memorable evening for all attendees. The air was filled with laughter, joy, and a sense of camaraderie as students had fun eating and dancing. The evening concluded with spectacular fireworks. Today, our seniors took a trip down memory lane by walking through their old elementary and middle schools. Dressed in their cap, gowns, and name tags, they reconnected with old teachers and were role models for the younger students. Graduation will be held on the Schrader Turf this Friday, the 16th at 7 p.m. We look forward to hearing our classmates, teachers, and administrators speak, and we cannot wait to walk the stage. The class of 2023 is beyond thankful to have spent the past 4 years at Schrader High School. We cannot express our gratitude enough for all that the faculty and staff has done in order to get us to where we are today. A huge thank you to the Board of Education for all that you do. It has been a great year and a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Sydney.
Hi. I'm kind of out of breath. I just sprinted up the stairs. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and happy end of the school year. This year has been quite amazing, and we're so excited to show you what we've been up to this last quarter. As school comes to an end, our seniors participated in Decision Day, announcing where they will attend college or going into the trades, or even taking a gap year. We are very proud of our graduating class. Next, in the past month, our juniors and seniors had their prom and ball. It was a huge success. Our students were able to indulge in a dinner, desserts, and dancing with their friends while everyone was dressed to their finest. Both evenings were safe and fun for our upperclassmen. Oh my goodness, sorry.
You're
Okay.
doing great.
Okay. Both evenings were safe and fun for our upperclassmen. Another fun senior activity was the Luminary Walk. Seniors from both Schrader and Thomas were able to enjoy a relaxing walk at the Webster Rec Center with their families and friends. At the end of the walk, seniors picked up their 2023 lawn signs and had some late-night ice cream. Another fun end-of-the-year event at Thomas was our trade and job fair. Our counselors and geotech students did a wonderful job setting this up. Our students explored different jobs and trade opportunities for their future. Continuing, our Muslim Student Association planned and organized our first ever Culture Day at Webster Thomas High School. Participating students wore attire and brought food that represents the many cultures that make up our school. It was fun and educational, and we were so excited for Culture Day to continue in the upcoming years. At the same time, our Dream Club held a bake sale, in which the food was made from Malik's Kosher Bakery in Brighton, where everything is made by ingredients sourced locally, dairy-free, and made in tradition. All proceeds from this bake sale was given to the APAA, the Asian Pacific Islander American Association of Great Rochester. They support victims and families of those who have been greatly affected by hate crimes. Next, in another celebration of our graduates, 63 students of the class of 2023 were recognized as summa cum laude. These students have maintained a 95 GPA in the 7th semester while taking 3 APs. This is a great honor, and we are so proud of our summa graduates. Another event celebrating our seniors was the senior award ceremony. Scholarships, sports, and acknowledgments were handed out, and every senior invited to the event walked away with their accomplishments. Today was the senior parade, where the class of 2023 were able to walk through the halls of their old middle and elementary school. The children who currently attend those schools came out and cheered for the graduates as we celebrated them moving to their next chapter. One of the seniors' favorite events during their last year of high school is the senior trip at Camp Corey. It was the 19th annual Thomas Senior Trip to the Camp at Cayuga Lake. 220 seniors attended this camp this year and had a great time. We enjoyed very warm weather while paddleboarding, swimming, canoeing, and kayaking. We also participated in a class-wide slip and slide along with a food eating contest. We all had so much fun, and it was such a great way to spend the last few weeks together before we graduate. Later this week, Thursday, June 15th, Webster Thomas is having their annual art show where the students can display their year of hard work to their loved ones and enjoy a nice snack.
Okay, question. I got 2 questions just before we go further. Number 1, did Mr. Weeder go down the slip and slide like Mr. Benz did? No. Okay, all right.
He was
And then who participated this morning in the graduation? All 3 of you did. Awesome. That's great. All right, go ahead. Hannah.
Hi, Hi, everyone. The BBSU hosted a fundraiser cookout to celebrate Juneteenth with fun music and line dancing. The students and staff had a blast. While doing this, they also did their annual Wall of Fame, including many black men and women who changed the old ways of the world. Last week, on June 7th, the staff celebrated Pride Month to show the values of inclusivity and pride for our LGBTQIA student and staff. Next, the Campbell Car Show was a success with over 60 classic cars, new and old. Students, staff, and alumni got to enjoy the fun of it all. This past Saturday, Space Club hosted a lunar skywatching event in the Webster Park to see the full strawberry moon, Venus, and some stars. Club members had a great time looking at some of the world's wonders. Moving forward, to celebrate our staff, Miss Kelly's class gave up snacks and drinks to celebrate the end of the year and the hard work of our teachers because, in all reality, they do need it.
Titan Service Scholars has been extremely busy as we finished out some of our last local projects of the school year and their preparations for the International Service Project to the Dominican Republic. That's in just 21 days. This will be the first Webster Thomas group to go to the Dominican with Titan Service Scholars to help those in need. We start our service in the northern part of the island called Jarabacoa, where we'll build aqueducts in the mountains. And for the remainder of the trip, we'll go down to the Bates La Mora to build latrines for the community members. We visited the Webster Ladies Sewing Club, who make dresses and reusable sanitary products from recycling clothing last Thursday. Each scholar got to make their own handmade dress in collaboration with one of the sewing members. We are so excited to hand deliver these dresses that we made to the little girls in the Dominican since they mean so much to them. Furthermore, each of our senior Titan Service Scholars participated in an exhibition. This was a chance for us to invite teachers, mentors, community members, and partners in all of our service to our presentations where we explained what learning outcomes we've learned from Titan Service Scholars. It was a super successful event where all the seniors got to express their learning and the importance of their work to those who came and visited. Lastly, this Thursday we will return to Clem South for the third time for Book Buddies, a program where we read them a book and perform an activity with them that teaches the students about the work that we are currently doing and why it's important to serve. This visit, we are connecting our service project to Book Buddies, where we'll teach them about the lack of clean water. We are all super excited for Book Buddies on Thursday. Congratulations to the girls softball team on having a very successful season. They took home the brick this year in the sectional finals and continue to win in regionals, sending the girls off to states. We're extremely proud of how this team performed and how much they've accomplished this season. Furthermore, girls flag football ended the season second in their division. They beat Edison in quarterfinals along with beating crosstown rival Schrader 19-0 in semifinals. They faced Penfield last Saturday in the first ever girls flag football sectional championship game. Unfortunately, the girls lost, but we are so incredibly proud of how successful of a season they had for the first flag football year ever at Thomas. Not only does this mean so much to the girls that have been wanting to play football, but also for the future generations of the girls who can partake in football just like how boys can. Thomas hopes to expand flag football to many more levels because of how popular and successful the season was. Thank you to Webster Schools District for providing this opportunity to play flag football. Our track and field team competed in sectionals last week, where the boys team won the brick. Congratulations to the boys team for winning the sectionals again this year. Certain athletes, Caroline, Jerry, Evan, Jack, Connor, and Cole, were all invited to the New York State Championship in Middletown. This graduation for this year is the 22nd at the Thomas Stadium. Congratulations to all the seniors as they graduate. Thank you for inviting us to speak this year at all the meetings. Have a great summer.
Okay, don't go anywhere. You're not out yet. All of us here, want to say a heartfelt thank you, especially to our 3 seniors. And actually, I'm going to do a little quiz show here for just a couple quick questions. Number one, I'm going to ask 2 questions. Number one, what is your plans for next year? And if you don't mind, Sydney, I'm going to start with you. And I know Audrey's not here with you, but please, share our appreciation with her as well tonight. But Sydney, what are you doing next year?
I'm going to attend St. John Fisher, and I plan on majoring in biology and going down the pre-med track.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Congrats, Sydney.
Thank you.
Charisma, what's your thought, or what's your plan?
Oh, sorry. I'm attending Lemoyne College, and my major is psychology.
Wonderful. Great. So we got St. John Fisher, we got Lemoyne, and Hannah?
I'm going to the University of Pittsburgh for biomedical engineering.
Wow.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Awesome for all three of you. And Lauren, we are not forgetting you,
I
but and
know.
thank you for everything
You're
that
welcome. Thank
you're
you.
coming to Webster Thomas next year. That's
I
where
am.
you're going. We know that. All right, last question. If you could just give one piece of advice to all of us here at Webster, what would that be? What would be some advice as you're setting off into the sunset?
I'd say be kind to everyone. You don't know what people are going through, and just work your hardest and be kind. And yeah, it's pivotal in life. Yeah.
Fantastic. Great advice. Charisma?
I keep moving. I think maybe, well, be kind was a really good one. I think listening ears, maybe, like having good conversations.
I love that one.
And
That's
learning,
fantastic. That's the world needs to do that more. I agree. Thanks.
you.
And Hannah?
I would say take advantage of any opportunities that are given to you. I think I've been grateful enough to experience a lot of different things that have taught me a lot, and I've learned so much from them. So take any opportunity that's given to you.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies, so very much. Lauren, if you want to go, you're certainly welcome to go.
Oh, sure.
Don't want to leave you out.
I'd say to honestly just, I don't want to say take as many classes as you can as possible, but I do want to say that, for one, because you get a whole lot of opportunities to keep trying and trying again. And two, there are a lot of courses that you can take in high school that may not even be offered at your colleges, and you're taking them for free, so it's a whole lot better.
Oh, it is so refreshing hearing
And
from all of you. Go
Lauren,
ahead.
keep singing.
I know it. Yes. Keep
yeah,
singing
I will
too.
keep doing
And we'll
that.
see you next year, hopefully.
Yes, absolutely.
Hannah, it's been a pleasure. Your interview on the television for the football was amazing. We're so proud of you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, all of you. Sydney, I've watched you since you were in middle school, you and your sister, and I heard that you're most likely to cure cancer. Yeah. So I'm wishing you all the best. And Charisma, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, and we appreciate you coming. And before the three of you leave, we would like to give you just a little token of our appreciation. So thank you. And I have one for your sister, but I'm going to give it to her personally because I want to congratulate her.
Thank you.
Okay.
How about a round of applause?
Okay.
All right. And now Joni.
Next is Joni. Okay. Oh, sure. And welcome, Joan.
Joni.
Good to see you.
They are an awesome bunch, aren't they?
They're pretty amazing.
They really are.
Tough act to follow.
I know.
It does. They raise the bar. They really do raise the bar. And they do. They share so much of what we are doing that when I come up here, I'm like, okay, I don't have to mention that or that. You hear it, and you hear from them. It's just so wonderful the way it all goes. So, hello.
Hello.
Michael, we wish you well, too. We'll have ice cream gift cards for you, too, but not right now.
Thank you.
All right. wow, where do we even start with June? I can't believe it's here. TJ Milliman, our WTA Safety Committee, you guys know the work he puts in. You guys work directly with him. And he makes himself available to 800 plus WTA members. And that man has had his plate full. And who knew a Canadian wire fire was going to be on his plate and radar as well as our members who really had to work with our student athletes who had these games set and they needed to be postponed. And that's just, on one end, they're balancing and being so grateful for health and joy and health. And on the other end, that disappointment in, oh my gosh, I'm playing tomorrow. Oops, no, you're not. and traveling towards and all the questions that come with those. So TJ is always just puts himself out there. And he really deserves some serious recognition. And we all know we go to him. Fun ways that people are celebrating that our WTA students, not WTA students, our Webster students just shared with you, that they didn't get to share. Our German students had spaghetti issues. They're spaghetti ice cream sandwiches. They take vanilla ice cream, all in German. They send it through the pasta machine. Comes out as this bowl of spaghetti, which is really ice cream. They take the strawberries, they blend it through, they make a sauce, and then they use coconut flakes as the Parmesan. It's like a ritual that the seniors in German get to do, and they have this whole major thing. It's all WTA, how you know Christine Bruckner in the German language department. They're doing all of these really cool things. I'll have to get you guys on the invite list for next year. Really, seriously, when she was sending me these, I was like, whoa. Our Plank North and our Plank South schools are working together. They're having, next Thursday is their field day, their picnic. They'll be outside, we hope. 4th, 5th grade chorus concerts, orchestra concerts, wind ensemble concerts. You guys know, you go to them, you attend your own children's. They're all in full bloom and have been. Willing Spirit Week included kick off the week with head to toe, great outfits. Our teacher-student swap day, how cool is that to be able to swap with a WTA member? A party in the USA, Throwback Thursday, and I can't wait for some people to send pictures from Willing. The WTA members and the students and the administration, you know it's collaboration between all, are doing a fancy and formal Friday to end their year. Our WTA officer reports, our big one of this month is our scholarship. We had 5 winners. They were Hannah Reeve, Kate McDowell, Olivia Lazarus, Sierra Quarterman, Sarah Rogers. 5 students winning $1,000 scholarships offered through the WTA. It was real difficult to be on that committee. So glad I was. Our ProGrow, our money's gone. Our professional development money for the year was exhausted because of the funds that people wanted to put in and creative ways they're doing to how we can even be more cost effective with our funds in noticing what are the trends, what are people looking for, how can we order in bulk and do these book studies across the district or do the research across the district or do practices. Our voice, Zach Anderson is working amazing. That energy and the vibe that they had from Albany's and the number of, he said it was just amazing, the number of teachers from across the state who are just in it 5, 10, 20, 30 years and the excitement and the recharge that gives. It's been amazing. Our EDI, their big goals coming up. We have our classroom, and our classroom has just been filled month after month after month with resources. And what's cool is it also includes what's happening in the classroom. How did it go? What's going on? What they would do next. So you don't, if you're doing it on a Thursday and somebody else did it on a Tuesday, you could peek to see how it went and what things they would tweak. So it's constantly learning, not only from each other in our schools, but across the district. Our professional development, we are looking at increasing our conferences because everything in life has gone up. And we know that is so, so important. Our partnership with the PTSA, sometimes I don't know where one stops and where it's WTA, where it's PTSA, where those lines are, because there's constant collaboration, constant partnership, constantly people volunteering to do things, all for our students, all because they matter. You look at them here where they get to, and just they're saying being kind, listening. It makes us so proud as WTA members to be able to listen to that. That's much better than anything I can share with you tonight, what they had said. Michael, we do wish you well. Thank you. Thank you very much for serving. I thought Cindy would be here. I will catch her up at district office because we will miss her as well. And we wish all of you a very healthy, happy, joyful summer.
Thank you, Joni, and thank you for all of your reports this year. We wish you a great summer, too.
I'm going to go St. John Fisher next year.
Congratulations.
That's great. But you can still come here to our events.
Aw,
That's great.
thank you.
Remember next.
Okay, and next up is Brian.
Give him a second. All right, next up, I'd like to invite some very special community guests. If I could please ask our first responders to come up and join us in the seats right up here, that'd be fantastic. I'll say a couple words in a second. Should be 6, perfect. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight, first and foremost. But as all of us know, on Thursday, May 25th, there was a minor fire, certainly a minor fire in comparison to fires we know that you all see on a regular basis, but a minor fire at Webster Schrader High School. And our area's first responders were an incredible support on that day, and I might add, on every day. And as they ensure our safety for our students and our staff, and that was your top priority that day, and it is greatly appreciated. And through this challenging situation, these gentlemen here and our first responders as a whole provided immediate professional assistance to the Schrader community. And we remain grateful to you and your steadfast support, not only for us here in the Webster Central School District, but throughout the greater Monroe community. And Monroe County community, excuse me. It's my honor and my privilege to present a certificate to each of you tonight. And just for the audience, the certificate, this is what is read on the certificate. In deep appreciation of your invaluable service and dedication to the students and staff of Webster Schrader High School on May 25th, 2023, your enduring commitment to the safety and security of our community have made a significant impact, and we are grateful for your support. We also want to recognize all of the other things that you do for us on a number of different occasions, and I know all the sporting events and even robotics, and when the band won their state championships, you guys get involved in that. You come into our classrooms and you work with our kids and you really promote a lot of great things here, but the service you do for our community is incredible, and I know I'm speaking on behalf of every single one of us here that we are grateful for what you did that day and what you do every day. So I'm going to ask the audience for a huge round of applause. And Paul, I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, to help me out here. Paul, could you come on up? There's 6 certificates there, and right up here on the desk. Yep. Oh, you need your glasses, I know. Paul Benz is our principal at Schrader that obviously you all worked closely with that day. And Neil Flood, our director of safety and security, was instrumental in that day as well. It takes a team. It takes a team in an emergency situation, and it takes a team every way. So first of all, we'd like to recognize Andrew Vordrin, our chief from the Webster Fire Department. Andrew, right there. Steve Kozak, our second assistant chief from the Webster Fire Department. Dan Andrews, our captain from the Webster Fire Department. Brian Kelly, our chief from the West Webster Fire Department. You got it? Good, very good. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for your help. And then Glenn Morehouse, our first assistant chief from the West Webster Fire Department. And our very own Brian Zimmer, who is a captain in the West Webster Fire Department. Again, a huge round of applause. Again, gentlemen, thank you for your partnership. And I'm going to ask one more favor, if you don't mind, is I'm going to ask Jen Callis right over here is going to join myself and Linda and Paul Benz and the six of you. If you don't mind, we're going to grab a picture. All right, so we'll follow her.
Okay, next. Next, we are going to invite a true champion of education to come forward. Thomas Specka is currently the treasurer of the New York State School Board Association. He is also our Monroe One BOCES representative. He was a former board member, I believe, from 98 to 2016, maybe. A true friend to all, a mentor to me, and we're so glad to have you tonight.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here on a night of celebration. We're approaching the end of another school year. And NYSBA on an annual basis understands that all your work as board members is volunteer work, okay? They also have many programs throughout the year. You being a member district are recognized for participating in several programs, like convention, to name a few, Capitol Conference, some of the NYSBA put on school board training for initial members and things, and you receive points and credits. And we want to recognize people because there's 4 levels of recognition that we have. We have 2 members of your board here, 3 members total, receiving recognition this evening. 2 receiving the level 1, which is board achievement of 75 points. I'll pass these out in a second, but Janice Richardson, your board president, I know she's not here this evening. Jennifer Birdsong-Ing, congratulations. They received the Board Achievement Award. We have 1 member of your board here this evening is being recognized for board excellence. This young lady has received level 2 Board Excellence Award, which is 150 points of additional professional development that NYSBA puts on throughout the different things that are advertised and on board that many of you may see in the administrative offices and things of that nature, the law conferences, policy development, things of that nature, sometimes custom board retreats. There's a lot of things that board members who participate receive credit for. And the person receiving the Board Excellence Award this evening is your Vice President, Linda Diagardi. In addition to all of our board members, 3 board members being recognized in 1 year is amazing. I was honored to be able to come here to present these to you this evening. Also, the Board Excellence, because it is the second step of the 4. And the next one is Board Mastery Level, which is 250 points. So don't think of it, you're only 100 points away. And then there's the Lifetime Achievement, which is 500 points. We have a few members, one of our BOCES board members this year received her Lifetime Board Achievement, but that is a lot of additional classes that you take throughout your time. I just wanted to say thank you for putting in that extra effort. It's wonderful. You know that, yes, it's volunteer work, and even going to these different conferences and things are all volunteer. But the things that you pick up, we know around this table that education does not stop when you graduate and when you leave. Education is a lifelong endeavor. You're always learning. And so thank you, and let me pass these out. And hope to see you at some future conventions. Excuse my voice, that happens every year, allergy post-nasal drip. So, you know what happens there. So, but thank you. It's great to see so many members of one board receive some recognition. And Michael Alt, I want to thank you for your service, for your volunteer service and being on the board. Former Kodak alum like myself. And thank you for the time you gave as a volunteer to the children of Webster and the children of the state of New York. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom.
Thank you.
Tom continues to also be our Webster representative on the Monroe 1 BOCES board. And again, like Linda said, he's been in public service, volunteer public service for 25 years, which is such a testament to who he really is all about. Thanks, Tom.
Your wife, my love.
I'll take that, yeah.
Yeah.
Take it to Janice. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you, you too.
He didn't see me. Sorry, Tom.
Oh, this is awesome.
I know it.
All right.
All right.
Next up is you.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks again, Tom. And I'd like to begin my superintendent's report tonight with some well wishes and congratulations to our outstanding class of 2023. We are all so proud of your accomplishments during your time with us, and we look forward to celebrating all of our seniors as commencement ceremonies begin this week. We celebrate with Goal on Thursday, Webster Schrader, Mr. Ben's in the back there on Friday. Weather looks good right now. We're looking pretty good. We'll keep our fingers crossed, right? And Thomas next Thursday on the 22nd. All Webster CSD families received a community newsletter last week with more information on graduation ceremonies. And again, thanks to all of our seniors. We can't wait to see what you all decide to do in your next chapters. All right, next, I would like to welcome Sean Straggy, who's here with us tonight. He is our Director of Physical Education, Athletics, and Health for Webster Schrader and Webster Spry side, and he is here going to join us tonight, and Mr. Benz as well. Both of them are going to update us on aboard an important thing and also update our community on an important piece of information. And so Sean and a few others have been doing some research for us in regards to our Schrader Warriors nickname and mascot. We have learned a lot of history about the evolution of the Warriors name over the last few months. And as some of you might remember, the New York State Education Department, along with the Board of Regents, passed Part 123 of the Commissioner of Education's regulations, which asked all schools to review names, logos, and mascots that may contain historical Native American names or images. And we have asked Mr. Straggy and Mr. Benz to share their findings with us tonight. So I'll turn it over to these fine gentlemen.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the board and to speak tonight about something that I'm very prideful of, and more importantly, to give Mr. Benz something to do instead of look at the weather report for Friday. But I'm happy to share some of what we have uncovered over the course of the last 3 or 4 months. I've shared this in a couple different formats, sometimes going from present backwards, and other times going from as far back as we can reach up to the present, and that's sort of what it's going to be this evening. But we'll move pretty quickly. This will be somewhat of a trip down memory lane for some people. So the earliest, and sometimes it helps to understand our chronology, I guess, if you will. Webster High School in one building, Webster High School in another building, then we're the Schrader Lions, and Thomas is a separate high school, and back to Webster High School. So that is a part of our history that sometimes takes explaining. But where we're sort of starting today is looking at Webster Warriors or Webster High School, and then talking about Schrader High School as it opened in 2002 and beyond. So obviously now we're referred to as the Schrader Warriors. So that dapper gentleman there is from 1945.
That's not you, Mr. Benz? That wasn't you?
Different hairstyle.
Does look fresh. It always continues for poor Mr. Benz. You can see the Letterman jackets in a common theme in these first few slides. So if you want to get real deep into the world of branding, it's ever present now. You can find it in social media, online text. You can find it in school stores. Back then, you really had to look in yearbooks, and word of mouth is the best way to find stuff. So this is a picture of the Letterman jackets from the Webster Varsity Club from 1945. You'll see a lot of W here, and we believe that to stand for Webster, obviously, in the old days, because there's no depiction of Warriors until the current days. Very fashionable soccer jerseys from the 1950s, but also the block W, which is pretty prevalent in most of these photographs. Late 70s, that's our current gymnasium, actually probably our current bleachers, with some small updates. But
Well played.
yes. But the gym is just as beautiful back then as it is today. You can see the Schrader Lions sign on the wall, as well as the Lions on all their uniforms. They had a brief, I guess I would call it a brief history of being the Lions before they turned back to something a little bit different. There's an S, obviously standing for Schrader at that time, on some of the uniforms, although not all of them had them. Many of them stuck with the W from the old days, or just had lions depicted on their uniforms. And that stayed in place until the mid-'80s. In 1985, it shifts to one high school in the Thomas building, and you start to see Warriors, or the W with the 4 stars logo, more prevalent. And you can see there, that's in the 1985 yearbook where it talks about the Webster Warriors. There are some points to, and we have some people on the board as well that might be able to recollect this, but one of the nice parts about Webster is people stick around, so the past is all around us, and you can just ask a whole lot of questions. But you find out that as early as 1984, they started combining teams knowing that there was going to be one high school. Eventually, there were votes and student input and town input, community input, and that became kind of what you see today. Is as a student, I can remember this being on any of our certificates, the W with the 4 stars. I did tell a student the other day that I went to school here in the 80s, and they were like, "You were alive in the 80s?" And at that point, I felt like I couldn't tell them I was born in the 70s. I was like, "Yeah, I was real early," But yeah. But certainly, I remember that very well. And some of the next few pictures, I remember the uniforms. So here you see in the 80s a script Webster. You'll also see a script Warriors from time to time. And it feels like I'm being pointing out football, but jerseys were harder to put emblems and logos on. Helmets were one of the places where you tend to find them. Yearbooks, helmets, and banners and gyms was where we tended to find those items. So we switched to 2002, and these are ones that you'll find more frequently around. If you were to do a Google image search for Webster Schrader Warriors or Schrader Warriors logo, this is some of the stuff that you'll see pop up, intermixed W and S. And the one on my far right, yep, your far right as well, is, if you're looking back here, is that was created by BOCES, and we believe to be 2012, 2013. And it was one of the reasons that we started to look at new branding was vendors and teams had a really hard time, because it says Schrader Warriors in the S, had a really hard time putting that putting that graphic anywhere, whether it was a hat or whether it was a uniform. So to keep it consistent, they would come back and say, we can't fit this in there. It's just going to be a black line in there. Is that okay? And I got all edgy about branding and copywriting and trademarking, and said, no, it's not okay. We got to figure out a way to do that. So we enlisted the help of a committee, and that started actually in 2000. The first survey went out in 2016, and then we started that process in 2018-19. Then we had a small pandemic, and then we worked through the process. Actually, the company, we were on pause, sort of, and the company reached back out and said, are you still interested in doing this? And we were, and it's the company called Rickabaugh Graphics, who we ended up doing our branding package through. So that's where we arrived today. So why are we talking about this is a bunch of pictures here. About Proud to be a Warrior. That's probably why I'm sitting here. This is my past. It's Mr. Ben's current, present, and his kids went there. It's something that people in our community are very prideful of. But more importantly, we had to answer the call. And the state put out a regulation, and one of the first things, actually one of the first people to talk to me about it was Mr. Neenan. And he said, what do you think about this? Can we talk about this? And then we've talked about it for plenty of time since then. And we believe it to be pretty true, that it has been blue and gold, certainly all throughout, but never has depicted any images that would be insensitive or of an Indigenous character or logo. So thank you for your time. And Mr. Benz would like to talk about the weather on Friday.
Shift it a little bit.
Shift it.
Thank you.
It's going to be beautiful.
It's going to be beautiful.
It's going to be gorgeous.
It is.
Beauty. Right.
Sunset, yeah.
We can open it up to questions for the board, but prior to that, I just want to publicly say thank you very much to Sean and to Paul and to the team that they took a lot of time and did a lot of research, because again, we didn't go into this with a preconceived answer. We went into this with, was there any, and it's really important that we did do that due diligence to say, was there any vestiges to anything like Sean described as, and in the regulation describes as connected to Indigenous and insensitive images that might connect that. And we did not find that in our research. And again, thank you for the presentation again tonight too. So, and then again, questions? from the
Real
board?
quick, I do want to just thank Sean for putting all the work in. He obviously went back to a lot of research, probably has a good friend that's a research librarian, maybe to be able to help him out a little bit, but he did do all this himself, and he did a fantastic job.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
She taught him well.
Yep.
Yeah, it definitely makes me feel better knowing, it's interesting because you don't know the history, and I know you poured through all these books to look and see and check, and, that means we're doing our due diligence to make sure that we're doing the right thing, so I appreciate that.
Anybody else?
It was great to talk to some of the coaches and PE teachers from the past who are still around. They're still in Webster, and they'd love to talk and share and talk about the past. So it was good catching up on that, and it did make you feel better about the process, certainly.
And thanks for reaching out to our local historians as well, which we appreciate that, and also some of even our staff.
Yeah.
Having conversations with several of our staff that had gone through this entire these decades, and even our board members that have been through many of those.
Very proud of him. Anybody else? No questions?
All right.
Perfect.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much,
very
gentlemen.
much.
Appreciate your
Appreciate
time. All right, and I'm almost done with my report, so I'll just take one last second here. Okay, I want to close my report with a reminder that school will be closed on Monday, June 19th, in recognition of Juneteenth. And again, a reminder that that's a federal holiday commemorating the emancipation of enslaved African Americans. Students, finish strong this year. That would be a message that I think all of us would hope for all of you. Families and community members, thank you for your ongoing support and partnership. And to our One Webster staff, thank you for the role that you played in our students' education throughout the year. Happy almost summer. We are almost there, and I can't wait for graduations coming up on Friday for Schrader and Thomas on Thursday, and we start out with goal on Thursday. So, and that ends my report.
Alrighty. Thank you. And next up, I'm going to invite the math wizards to come up.
I've been dying for this report.
Yeah. You've prepared your questions.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We welcome you all tonight, and thank you.
It's my pleasure to introduce Jim, who is ending his first year as Director of Business and Math for us here in the district, but he's a very familiar face as he's been teaching at Schrader for a long time. So Jim, I'll turn it over to you to introduce our guests, and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you very much. My name is Jim McEntee. I'm the new Math and Business Director. It's my honor tonight to speak to the 612 part of our math program. Tonight we'd like to give you an overview of who we are, who we are, what we do, and where we are going. Joining me tonight, we have Kim Gebhardt in the middle, who is a lead teacher over at Webster Schrader. We have Marie Prizzi next to me, who's one of the lead teachers over at Webster Thomas. And at the end, we have Sage Miller, who's a TOSA advisor for Encore. She also teaches computer science at Schrader and is on the AP Development Committee for Computer Science. Let's see, let me get this to go. Our mathematics department is tasked with developing number fluency in our scholars. Our work goes beyond simple number crunching and computations. We work with our scholars to fully develop mathematical concepts and ideas. As you can see, a majority of our staff have substantial experience in the field. Our mentor program provides opportunities for new staff entering our department by linking them up with experienced teachers to help support their growth and development. One of the strengths of our program is the belief that all students can be successful in math courses, and our commitment to exposing students to challenging, rigorous content. The results show that our students consistently rise to these challenges. The success of our K-12 math program is a reflection of the dedication and hard work of all the math teachers in the district, from UPK to Math 8 to Calculus. Our next slide is going to give you a visual overview of the next-gen learning standards in math. If you take a look on the left, you'll see the domains, which are the big picture math concepts. And then over on the right, you see our student mathematical practices, which are the strategies that help get us there. While the domains that a student studies on the left may change from year to year, the mathematical practices are meant to be applied across different mathematical content areas. And our next slide will give a little bit of a deeper look at what those student mathematical practices are. These student practices are interconnected and mutually reinforcing. By integrating these 8 practices into instruction, students can become more effective problem solvers and develop a strong math mindset. In addition to the student math practice standards, another way that the courses have evolved is the emphasis on modeling. Modeling helps us develop our scholars' ability to analyze and make conjectures based on empirical situations. Some people who are old like myself might remember the question over on the left-hand side. When we were in school, that's what math used to ask you to do. You can see it's pretty clear, and there's not much ambiguity. It tells you draw, label, graph. It gives you the exact equation. It tells you the domain to work on, any restrictions or constraints. The second part says use an algebraic method to find the roots. Pretty direct and straightforward. On the right-hand side, it's going to take you a couple minutes to unpack just what that question is even getting at. And that's a question that was on one of our geometry regions. I want to say it was from 2021, but I could be off. The example on the right, you can see students must process the prompt, decide which background information is relevant, and transfer that information over to the new problem. So it's substantially more difficult. Here is an implementation timeline. We are here, sort of in the middle there where the big red arrow is. Our 3 through 8 programs this year had their first state assessments aligned to the next-gen learning standards, and they were done on the computer. Our first algebra regents aligned to the next-gen standards will be in June of 2024. The geometry regents will be in June of 2025, and the algebra 2 regents will be in June of 2026. Here you can see how the courses that we offer in our program translate into student schedules. You see, we tried to label them on the left over to the right for 9 through 12. We encourage all students to take 4 years of math, but how that looks for each of our scholars and the desired outcome will be different. As you can see, our program offers students lots of choice and options. We'll address this also later on, but just as a side note, Webster Central School District has the most AP offerings in Monroe County at 23. In our department, we've worked hard to extend those opportunities anywhere we can, including, well, as of now, we have 10 accelerated, advanced placement, dual credit, and CLEP offerings in our program. One thing that was kind of new this year was our Arithmetic Avengers pilot. As an experiment this year, we tried linking up some of our high school senior capstone courses with their 5th grade counterparts. This was an opportunity to enhance learning, motivation, communication skills, build connections, maybe get rid of some math phobia if that exists ever, and provide an opportunity for our kids to build relationships. Our goal was for students to have a positive and engaging experience with their role models. Lots of learning happened for our students and for staff, and we're looking forward to revamping the process and trying again next year. And now Kim will speak to our PD and what we're doing to get better.
Hi, everyone. I am tasked with talking about how are we getting better. And before I get started, I want to say that today was our last day with students. And we had over 50 kids at our review sessions after school for Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. So shout out to our teachers, but also our students. That was great that they stayed after school. And we didn't provide food, so that's a double incentive that they still stayed after school. So one thing that we do to get better is we offer PD opportunities. This year we started Delta Math at in our buildings, and that was a great way to give students immediate feedback. We started an Algebra Always Learning track that included asynchronous time, synchronous time. We did release time. And it was a way to get our algebra team on the same page, and it included common assessments. And it's a great way to get ready for the next gen learning standards that are happening next year. A couple of classes are piloting standards-based assessment and instruction, and this has been a great way to identify some student needs that are happening and how we can move forward. The best part about that standards-based instruction is that it allows students to be in control of what they need to do to get better. So that's been a great experience. Project-based learning, PLCs, our PLCs meet, we're only contractually supposed to meet, I think, once every 2 weeks, but you can see those algebra teams or all math teams meeting every week. And then choice boards, which we'll elaborate on the next slide. So here's an example. Something that we're trying to do more in our department is offer some student choice. So you'll see that this had 9 choices for a student to work on with quadratic functions with the learning target above. It included stuff like reteaching through watching videos and doing that practice. It included some more fun things like marble slides, which is a Desmos activity. It could have meeting with the teacher or doing a reattempt of any sort of standards assessments. So this was a great way to have some flexibility in the classroom and another way to assess students in a non-traditional way. This one was a really neat one that our data person at the district uses Tableau, and Tableau is a data viz software program. And at the end of the year, we have sometimes trouble with our AP students with giving them meaningful work when they just want to be checked out in the last couple of weeks. So this Tableau assignment, it's called Makeover Mondays, where Tableau comes up with data, and anyone can produce tableaus, which are data vizzes, about the data that Tableau brought about. So what we had our students do this time was do a 3-2-1 protocol on it. So 3 things that they learned, 2 things that they found interesting, and 1 thing they still have questions about. I'll let you read that for a minute. It says, who do Americans spend time with across their lifetime? And so it starts at age 20 and then moves up to age 80. The darkest blue being alone. So the students were very, and the neat thing about this Makeover Monday is that they were able to, see different data vises that represent the same data. So it was a really neat conversation, and something that sometimes we have trouble in math having students find something that they're interested in, and this allowed that student choice, which was really neat.
How do we support our students? Well, there are many programs available. We have a summer program. If a student is looking to enrich from a Regents level program and jump into an enriched program, that is always available. We are doing a lot of small group math in the middle school, which is extremely supportive. We have RTI, a lot of credit recovery, math lab. Our algebra programs are 6 out of 4, which means they meet all 4 days, and 2 of the 4 days they get to meet an extra block with their teacher. And then we, of course, offer the geotech program. Then we are gonna, what interventions and enrichment opportunities? We have a AP Calculus, AB, and the BC. We have 2 CLEP college level exam programs that are offered. They take college algebra, or they can take college math. We have a number of dual credit enrollment classes, which include the pre-calculus and the calculus program. We have computer science, but I'm going to let Sage talk about that. And Monroe County Math League is a huge way for many of our students to enrich their opportunities. And the younger levels, we have math counts activities.
So I know in April, all of you were presented about the Encore program, which presents computer science at the K-5 level. I just wanted to mention that we are also meeting those New York State standards at the high school level through 2 AP courses and 1 half-year course. If you look on those 2 graphs, I know they're very small, but those 2 graphs, the top line in each graph shows the Webster scores on those AP exams compared to the orange line, which is distinctly below the Webster line, is the national scores on both those exams. So our students are performing very well on those exams. They're earning the college credit, but they're also being prepared for the digital world that is the future. And it's good to point out student opportunities, but also good to point out our teacher strengths. Both teachers who teach these computer science courses are involved at all levels in both course development and standard setting. So the next slide. And then the 2 clubs that we offer at both of the high schools, but also some of the elementary and middle schools offer these. Math League is at the high school level, Math Counts is at the middle school level, and students participate in monthly competitions countywide, and then the top 35 students go to the state competition, and Webster almost always sends a few students to that competition. And again, student opportunities, but also what's our staff doing? Of the 4 officer positions on Math League, 3 of them are filled by Webster staff, and they're volunteer positions. So that's above and beyond our day. And Math League is changing what the contests look like next year to be more reflective of the real world. So Math League has decided to go, instead of only individual portions of competition, each competition is going to have a team section and then an individual section. And 2 Webster staff were key to designing that new contest format. We attended all the meetings, and so just Webster staff is very involved in providing these opportunities for our students. That's Math League. And then we also offer Computer Science Club at both high schools, and a few of the elementary schools and middle schools have a computer club that's run after school. At the high school level, we're participating in contests. We have contests that we've done historically, but every year we're looking for new opportunities. So for example, this year we added an online competition at Colorado School of Mines, and the kids loved it. We participated in Cornell that we've done in the past, a cybersecurity competition at UB. And we always look for opportunities as students share opportunities, or as they come up on forums, we're like, oh, let's check this out. So those are some of the things we're doing in computer science.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Sweet. Any questions, comments? Mike, we're going to start with you tonight.
Sure. So first, you know I'm the STEM board member, right? So you won't have to deal with me next year, but certainly this is a great presentation, and I clearly support STEM programs, science and math. This is absolutely wonderful, all the things you're doing. So I have two questions. So first, what are you doing to make math fun so we graduate more people going into STEM careers? And if you listen to our three high school seniors who are graduating, they're all going into STEM. So that's great because it's a national concern. Most of our STEM graduates are growing on H-1B visas. So they're coming from foreign countries, and it may not be too long before they stay in their country and start creating more innovation in the U.S. So I'm concerned about that. The second, on slide 4, you showed 90% on level 3 algebra, 90% on level 3 algebra 2, but the geometry one was 66%. So do you have a plan to drive that score up, or was it an anomaly with the Regents test that year?
So as a math person, that kind of stood out to me also. And as I was looking, I'm going, well, wait a minute. Also, I will say, as somebody who's taught the course, please know, I think that there are structural issues with the content itself. I think that it asks a lot of spatial reasoning questions that might be beyond the average 10th grade student. But what I will say I am most proud of when I started looking at that number, and please know I'm not trying to hide it by any means, our district does a great job of telling kids, give it a chance, give it a try. We don't stand there and say, you can't do this, or I don't think you can do this. I still remember in my high school, the first day of pre-calculus, a teacher looked at the roster and then called 6 kids to the front of the room. They walked down to the end of the hall, and she just had them drop immediately. We offer every student every opportunity not only for initial success, but for remediation through credit recovery, anything that we can to get our students to be successful. We don't close that door. I think that the percentage of our 10th grade class, or I guess I don't want to say eligible because it makes it sound like they're consumers, but the percentage of the 10th grade class taking geometry Regents will be higher for us than most adjacent districts. And I'm sorry, I know that there was a second question.
Fun.
Making it fun.
We make it all fun.
How do you make math fun?
Just being in our classes is fun.
I will also say one of the things that came up during a department meeting this year was a conversation about, are we doing sort of what our kids would want to do, and are we doing what they would like to do in the post-secondary world. That conversation circled back to a staff department member who had a daughter who worked for the Yankees in stats. We said, oh, well, that kind of piggybacks off of AP statistics, but is there kind of more that we might be able to do than just throw AP stats? Because AP Stats starts off, and it's a statistics-based course. We said, what classes did your daughter go through and take? Like, what would be helpful? And the one thing that has stuck out to me, I think it's part of Fisher's program now as well, there are a lot of data science and data analytics courses that are being offered. And coincidentally, we had a conversation, myself and a gentleman from Syracuse University the other day, about even trying, because there's a SUPA partnership that exists. Penfield has signed up to do calculus through them. And to see if we could, oh, and I apologize, the reason we went to Syracuse was because that was where that staff member's daughter had gone to get the degree that got her down to be a Yankee statistician. And we had a conversation about perhaps coming up with either math/data science or data analytics, some form of high school elective that would be approachable for freshmen through seniors coming in. I mean, you look at the graphic that Kim's kids were working with through Tableau, you could get lost in that. I mean, I still remember looking at those little snapshots at the bottom of USA Today when newspapers existed, and those were great to go through and like pull information out of, getting kids to look at large data sets and pull and extract relevant information out of that is what will be getting them jobs in the future.
Great, thank you.
Also, my seniors made tiny homes, and we did not only was it to scale, they also had to build furniture out of paper.
Nice.
Goodbye. everybody. if you
Ooh,
wanna
I
see.
love it.
Like that.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Colleges as part of the strategic planning committee. You know, we heard from a lot of the colleges too about how they were looking for stronger math coming from students coming out all across, not just Webster, but all across. So I think it's great that we offer as many AP classes as we do, and the part about making it fun, the important part too is relevant, because, you know, even when we talk about this modeling, you know, seeing those instructions, kids don't understand how that translates to a career. So I think it's great that you're doing that more modeling on things that they actually, that will help them get jobs, and that they actually are going to be doing, because it's hard to imagine that and envision that when you're in school. So I think that's great. So I really appreciate that, and I'm sure, you know, the other thing too is how do you how do you bring kids into math, or how do you attract them to want to take these math courses and be challenged? Because, you know, kids, they tell each other all the time, like, oh, don't take that. It's so hard. You're going to have so much work. Don't do that. And I see that all the time. And I feel like it really, like, it puts kids off on something that they may actually really love, you know. So I'm sure that that's a challenge for you guys, is how to attract kids to take those classes and help build up their confidence that it's something that they can understand and they can be successful at.
I would say that that would probably be a challenge if we did not have the staff that we have. Every member of our, and I'm 6-12, but every member of our K-12 math department goes through and is welcoming to our kids. They encourage our kids. They celebrate success with their kids. There is nobody that's taking that walk down to say, you can't do this. In fact...
Oh, not from a staff perspective. It's
I think that those kids, though, they
yeah,
really, really get encouragement from our staff and see the relevance in why they're taking those courses.
Yeah, and that's what I really applaud, those efforts, because I feel like if kids understood that it's not, you build it up in your head that it's something you can't do, and how relevant it's going to be to a job that you might really love, you know, because it's hard to vision, I think, as a kid. And the more they see that, then they have a better idea when they're going into college about what they want to be involved in, so I think that's great. And the Encore really helps. Encore brings it in a way that's really fun, and they don't even know it. It's like hiding vegetables in your, you know, in like the recipe. Like you,
dessert?
yeah. Like this is all, you know.
The apple broccoli pie.
It is, and they just see, you know, they are loving it. They don't even know they're doing math, and they love it. And I think that's a great way to draw kids into.
And hopefully our computer science numbers will just keep growing
I
and
know.
growing
Mm-hmm.
at the high school level.
Especially
Exactly.
cybersecurity. It's a huge push right now. They need people in cybersecurity, so it's great that you guys did that competition.
I just wanted to say that I was looking at the third grade, what you do in third grade now compared
Okay.
to what third grade was 10, 20 years ago is absolutely amazing. And last week we saw that when we did the metric thing, we saw that what they were doing in third grade and how well they were doing was reflected in their later years in high school. And the New York State curriculum is so amazing now. And to see that you're tied in with that it's starting there. It's wonderful.
It's very, very rigorous, and it encourages that next level thinking from a very, very early age.
Exactly. It's not just multiplication and
Yeah.
fractions.
It's a little bit more difficult than that.
Yeah. I think actually on that same idea is the ST math program that they use at the elementary school has really encouraged that thinking outside of the box and problem solving. And you hear, I mean, this is my first year working in the elementary school in my Encore position, but the kids love doing that math.
They love
and it's
Gigi.
so refreshing to hear that. Kids loving to do the math because Digi's there, but they don't, it's similar to Encore that they don't even realize how much they're learning by doing it because of the approach of that.
So thank you.
I'm a little curious. I know you've had a couple of pilots for the standards-based grading attempt. How are those kids progressing? Have you seen a change in how they feel more confident? Are they going for this? I know this is a huge shift, especially in Webster and other local districts. Like, are you already seeing results in how kids are invested because it's not so scary because they can keep trying until they get it?
I think I'm getting eyes on me right now. So I am one of the ones who have piloted standards-based grading. And I would say one of the things that I think when talking about that math anxiety, the biggest thing that I appreciate about standards-based grading is that a student who would normally see like they got a 70 on a test, they're now seeing I got a 3 on this one, but maybe I got a 1 on this standard. So I think that piece has been really great from a student learning perspective, in that they're thinking about what have they done better, and then with the ones that they didn't do so well on, they're thinking about, okay, what are my next steps there? So it's not as overwhelming to see a 70 and just say, okay, we're done here, and it allows them to target more of that. Unfortunately, I started in 2019, and with that, with the pandemic, I think there's a lot of, as an AP Stats teacher too, there's a lot of data that can get disrupted in terms of meeting with students not every day and things like that, and math probably being one of the hardest hit during the pandemic. So in terms of data and how students are doing from it, I would just say it's probably anecdotal feedback, and that they appreciate that they know what they're struggling with. Specifically, like they're no longer just saying, I had trouble with Unit 7 solving quadratics. They're now saying, I had trouble solving
What
by
part of the
factoring.
quadratic
Right.
solution? Okay.
So it's very, it's neat to see the student empowerment of that, and them being able to control their own learning and know
Thank
where
you.
to go from there. So.
That was going to be my question as well. What kind of feedback are you getting from staff, students, and parents regarding this integration of standards-based assessment?
So from the staff perspective, it's a little cumbersome in that, so my grading looks, it's not just a grade that comes out. I will say not one parent has reached out to me. I think that's a good thing, because they can read it, they can understand it. I say we're looking for 3s and 4s, and that's it, and they get it. And if they have a 1 or 2, that's what we need to focus on. So I don't think that from the educating parents, it's been too hard. Teachers appreciate it, especially from the special ed or the support staff side, because they can look and they can see, oh, hey, so-and-so, I see that you really struggled with this one thing. And then with all of the technology that the district has in terms of IXL or Delta Math, it's very easy to pull in resources once you know the specific topic a student's struggling with, and not just the overarching unit that they struggled with.
Thank you.
In my house, you are all considered the math marvels. I can tell you. Mr. McEntee knows that. I'm going to answer Mike's question, how do you make math fun? And I usually don't talk about my children, but I'm going to, because this will hone in on the point. I have a math wizard, and I have a daughter that counts on her hands, that didn't know that 2 + 2 = 4. But math was always fun, and it was because of the teachers that taught the math. No matter how they performed, they both kept showing up. And so that's why in my house you are the math marvels. And I thank you all for this wonderful report tonight.
Can I have just a couple?
Oh, yes.
I'm going to just make a couple quick comments if you're all right. First of all, near and dear to my heart, the math and computer science report. I love it. Nice job. I want to actually hone in on one slide in particular. Paul or Jim, if you could go to the slide with the pathways. This is, I also think that, Shanna, this somewhat comes to your question, is one of our metrics is to have our students be able to be exposed to and also encourage them, like you do, to take 4 years of math. Because there's a lot of research right now, and it does go back to some of our anecdotal conversations with the collegiate level admissions office that we've been having those conversations with. But there's a lot of research out there that shows when kids take 4 years of math, they are much more prepared and successful beyond the high school piece. This also talks about on-ramps and off-ramps. It allows kids to be able to go from one ramp to another, and that is a testament to our staff. Question for you guys. I think we're dabbling in the AP pre-calc realm potentially too, and I don't know if Jimmy wanted to mention that at all?
So the framework of it was released last year and sort of more finalized, I guess, or got its last revision around April. We're not going to be participating in the very first wave, yep. But we will be working over this next year and consulting, obviously, with our department.
Yep.
But the department is very much on board with making that switch, switching from, I guess, an MCC-affiliated pre-calc to an AP affiliated pre-calc. The benefit, I think, would definitely be it sort of does embed that next level thinking and those transfer tasks a little bit more than MCC does, which is more similar to course 1, 2, and 3, where it's see this, do this. And it really kind of speaks to some program continuity, having students getting used to thinking in AP Pre-Calc and then going on to AP Calculus. They kind of feed, if you want to go into AP Stats or even AP Computer Science, that thinking and willingness to persevere, connect outside relevant information, and persevere through is really what we're trying to get.
Perfect. Thank you, and I appreciate the department's thinking about that, and the plan that you guys are putting together is fantastic. So thank you. And the last thing I would just say is the gratitude that I have for not only the things that you do inside the classroom during the day, but I want to, if you could spread the message to those that are volunteering in the math club, making the team approach, and the computer science field, not just for our own teams here locally, but the work that they do, those of you that do, or those, the volunteers that do that on the state level, because we know we have many in our district, and some might be sitting here in the audience, they're right here at the table here, but it's at the AP level, so national, and at the state level that we're very, very involved, and that you carry our reputation with you, and we really appreciate that. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
3 women, too, at the table.
And with that, may I have a motion to approve the Math 6 through 12 report as presented? Mike, and a second. Carol, all in favor? Aye,
Well
7,
done,
motion carries. Thank you so much for this. Wonderful. Okay.
192.
Oh, is that the answer?
To which one?
To the geometry regions, 192 baseballs?
Oh, I don't even know. Sure, I mean, yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
You want the answer to 2B?
Nice job.
Yeah,
0.8 and
17.
0.2.
Okay. 0.2?
That
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
My notepad.
We are moving on to board business, and the first thing on there is the resolution to approve Part 1, 2, 3 of the Commissioner's Regulation. That would be Sean's report
In regards
to that. So if we are ready, I need somebody to make a motion to approve. Charlie, and a second. Shanna, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. And the next part of our board business is tonight is my dear friend's final board meeting. And on behalf of the board and from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your dedication and your service to the board. We all know that board service is one of the toughest volunteer roles of all, and you took this duty on with dedication, grace, and tenacity. I thank you for bringing your passion, your insight, and your oodles of experience on board work to the table. Thank you for teaching me so much about the work that we do, for making me laugh and pushing me to do better as well as a person. You've impacted my life and all the lives at this table in more ways than you will ever know, and I can't express how grateful I am. I will treasure that always. On behalf of our community, thank you for your service, your loyalty, your leadership, and your guidance. We wish you continued success in all your future endeavors, knowing that wherever you go, you will continue to make a difference in somebody's life. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I know it. And I also want to echo all of those wonderful remarks from Linda. And thank you, Mike, for your years of service to the students in Webster, the families, and our staff. Your extensive professional background and business expertise has been an invaluable asset to us over the past few years. And as a parent of a Webster CSD alumni and a Webster resident for more than 30 years, you truly understand the needs of this community and its young people. Thank you for always offering your thoughtful perspective on so many issues facing those of us in public education. Truly, Mike, you are a champion of education. And I would like to also connect with Linda and say congratulations on all of these years served, and thank you so much. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. on behalf of the Board of Monroe County. And this is just a little, oops, wait, just a little something from us for you to enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all you've done.
Can I say a few words?
You can, if you'd like.
It will be brief.
All right, saddle up.
So, two kids who graduated from Webster, and I couldn't be more proud of what the district offered them, not only on the hard academic skills, but the soft skills, teamwork, respect, integrity, hard work. They're both successful, both own their own businesses, and I couldn't be more proud, but clearly Webster Central School District played a role in that. What I didn't appreciate, and even though I attended all the parent-teacher conferences, was the tremendous amount of effort put forth by the whole instructional staff, the non-instructional staff, the buses, how difficult it is just to keep track of that and accommodate all the parents' requests, the building and grounds, the cleaners, HR. Maybe I should put that in the instructional staff, right? The recruitment of Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, Dave, you played a role in that. And what's involved with the administrative staff and the executive staff to actually make this a tremendous, outstanding educational system. And the amount of work that goes into it is just unbelievable. So my hat's off to everybody. For me, it's really been an honor to learn how the organization runs and a privilege to serve on the board and to be dedicated to the growth of our students. The diversity, I can't wait to see how that all comes out over the years. Robert, you got your hands full. And just to keep growing as a district. And to my board colleagues, I thank you for all the support. You have some challenges coming up with AI and some of the other funding things that I think are going to happen at the state and federal level. So Godspeed to you, but it's just been a privilege and honor to serve, and I wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here, Mike. Good job.
Thank you. Okay. Can you tap that?
Nobody's behind
Once
it.
again, another board meeting that I clear out when it's my turn.
Writing questions next year.
Actually, one of the presentations
I'll feed them to Carol.
has a Google form attached to
She'll
it.
be my surrogate.
What you might say.
Okay. So first up.
All right, first up is we have two treasurers' reports for the month of March and April, but there is something new that I wanted to point out. As you know, our audit is kind of ongoing, and they come out in May and do some preliminary work, and we didn't look at the calendar close enough, and they actually came out the week of the budget vote to do their preliminary work. So it was kind of a hectic week. But one of the things they had mentioned, because they always look at our board minutes and our policies as a start, was we had lost track of this several years ago of giving quarterly reports to the board right out of WinCap that define our revenues in more specificity and our expenditures by the state function area, so it's a little bit different than the normal treasurer's reports, which are attached. So they told us we should be adding these reports for a little bit more transparency on the quarterly basis. So this is the first one of those. So it's a little bit different look of things. This comes right from our financial software system, WinCap. Linda, you might remember, I think we did this way back in 2016, but we've kind of lost it a little bit with some of the changes that have happened. So bringing that back based on their request, and so just wanted to point that out if anybody had questions on those two reports.
Any questions? No? Okay, then may I have a motion to approve the March and April 2023 Treasurer's Report and Quarterly Expenditure Revenue Reports? Anybody? Shanna's first, and a second. Mike, all in favor? Aye, 7 passes. Thank you.
All right. So next up is legal requirement of every June to do what are we estimated our reserve transfers are going to look like when we close the books effective June 30th. And so they're not audited yet, but so it's just a prediction of what June 30th would look like. So we're looking at 6 different reserves that we'd fund. Once again, this is a conversation we have in May when the auditors are out to say, hey, this is what's on the horizon. This is where we think we'll have some funding available. They take a look at the reserve report that we do in January that we've done, and we kind of go through that a little bit, and we come to a conclusion of where we think if we have extra funding, where should that go. So this is the first part we do in June. It's an estimation. And then in August, before the tax warrant, once the books are finally like closed, bow tied, somewhat audited, I won't say completely audited, but we're 85% of the way there. We do permanent and exact amounts. So this is what we've come with as not to exceed amounts for these main reserves, which we're looking to possibly fund once we close the books. I also put into the report the current balances as of May 31st in there, just as reference to kind of give you something to bounce off of. And in addition, this year, I've also added to the report, thanks to Mrs. Land, in this lovely program we have on the instructional side called School Meter. They actually gave me a login, so I was playing around with it, and they have a whole bunch of financial data tied to it as well, and it's very user-friendly. So I added, you see on that third page, I blocked out the other districts in the county, and obviously removed RCSD. We always remove with, I think you've learned by now, all my reports removes RCSD because it's a statistical outlier. Of saying, okay, we've talked about reserves, we have these projections. How do our reserves compare to the last year, 21-22, that has state reportable data? So when I talk reserves, it's all fund balance, everything, the whole tied up. And you see we're 15th out of 17th when we look at the percentage of reserves and fund balance to overall budgetary expenditures. So we're at 27%. So, in layman's terms, that's we have 27% of our expenditures covered by fund balance. Whereas you see there's some outliers that are very close to having almost 100% of their total expenditures covered by fund balance and working their way down. So I just want to add that for context as compared to where we are. And we look at this as part of our reserve plan every year too. So a little bit different based on that report and what I've been able to pull out of there. So questions on anything?
Any questions?
Mr. Alt.
So when you say not to exceed, so let's say not to exceed 5 million.
Correct.
Are you saying it's closer to 0 or closer to 5? That's a pretty broad spectrum. We could be transferring 0 or we could be transferring 13.5 million. So do you have a point estimate for us?
Not with great specificity right now because, I like to be there when it's audited. And not just my numbers, because the auditors could come in and say, you can't do that. That revenue that came in from the state this year, that doesn't count for 22-23, Brian. That's actually tied to the previous year. So, you got to resolve an accrued liability. And so that goes back to a different reporting year. I would say it's not to exceed. It's not going to be 0. But it'll probably be somewhere in between. Close. I put for that one particular, that would get us to completely funding the capital reserve to its legal allowable amount. So that one is probably pretty close to 5 million if I had to take the most estimated guess right now.
Is this in order of priority? You'd like, if you only had 5 million, you'd put it all towards capital?
Is that where we ended up? Probably not. It probably would not, because we'd look at that liability reserve And the tax surcharge reserve is always one that's high up on the list of priorities, given all the challenges we've had there.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, then may
Carol put me up to it.
Good question, Carol. May I have a motion to approve the estimated reserve transfers, please? Oh, Carol, and a second. Jen, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And next up is the Johnson Foundation donation.
Yeah, and so this is over the $5,000 policy limit, so it comes to the board for approval. But the Johnson Foundation has been quite generous over the years to the district, at several buildings for several different special education programs. They always like to honor the staff that is directly working with the students there. So I think they have donated well over $250,000 to the district since they've started the foundation. Ties to the Webster Central School District with kids that have gone through here, family members that have taught here. So they, once again, are generously donating to the district. So we have an ongoing account where it's set up as part of our grants, and take the donation and set it up for Schrader to utilize for those programs.
Does anyone have any questions?
No, it's just very, very kind.
It is.
Yeah, it's
They're amazing.
a beautiful way to put a lasting memory.
It is. Okay, then, may I have a motion to approve the $10,000 donation from the Allison Edward Johnson Foundation to Schrader High School to be used for the purchase of supplies and equipment to enhance the program at the school? Mike, and a second? Shanna, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And on to Foundation Aid.
Yeah, so I put a few slides together for this one as opposed to report, because it needs a little bit more explanation. So let me, a lot of technical difficulties today. Where is it? There it is. All right, thanks, Paul. So this kind of actually, we got some guidance after the budget vote on this foundation aid plan. So I just wanted to point out what this is and what we have to do for it. And pretty much the plan requirements is that if you're a district that received a 10% increase in foundation aid, which we were in at the 20%, or $10 million, we weren't there. So we qualify off the percentage. Shall honor before July 1 of each school year, post to the district's website a plan of how such funds will address student performance and need. I think the irony is in it that the guidance came out after the budget, and that whole kind of, what can we do to address student need after the fact? But I think our budget process pretty much spoke for itself with the things we added that would address those issues. So one of those things is our increase was 21. This is the estimated that we're at $7.6 million. As I've stated before, I don't think we'll be above 10%, but we're not going to be at $7.6 million when the final reports come through. So I think those were a little high, but I'm putting the numbers there because that's what the state said they're giving us. Our plan recommendation is we're just pulling the things that we talked about through the budget, areas of focus, the elementary class size reduction, the RTI support, adding the staff for students with disabilities programming, adding staff for ELL, maintaining the digital fluency positions that we looked at, and the CTE funding. So this plan needs a public comment period for a couple weeks. So right on our website, I just wanted to show everybody, under business department, right with the district budget, we have the foundation aid plan, the link where you could go right to a Google form, the Foundation Aid Plan document we're required to have, and then tonight's slide deck. And then by June 30th, I have to submit all this with the feedback to New York State and by midnight on the 30th. So just wanted to highlight that because they're outward-facing changes. It looks like a small little report that we have to do, but there's some community engagement, so I wanted to make everybody aware.
Excellent. Does anyone have any questions? Then may I have a motion to approve the Foundation Aid Plan as presented? Charlie, and a second. Jen, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope, motion carries. Okay, next is the bond resolution for the buses.
Yep, so with the approval of the bus proposition from the vote date, now we could go ahead, and this requires a roll call vote. So, Lisa, are you ready? Because this is authorizing us this summer to order those buses and borrow the money for it. Same typical bond resolution as always, so any questions on that besides the roll call vote?
Yep. No questions? So we need a motion to approve the bond resolution for buses and estoppel notice as approved by the community at the May 16th, 2023 vote. Jen? Oh, and no, then I need a second. Sorry. Carol? Okay, and then Lisa?
And Lisa?
For the roll call, we need Shanna?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And then next up is,
So Brian, just one question about buses. Do you anticipate ordering one electric bus just to see at some point before 2027?
So right now, the only two districts that have them are Penfield and Gates-Chile. They've both utilized grant money for it. I think maybe Greece has some now too. We are actually just today wrapped up a conversation about doing the study on the power requirements that would need and what kind of facility upgrade at the bus garage as far as electric, and to start that process with the electric bus purchase. So that'll kind of guide, maybe we could order one and see how it does type of thing. So that's something we're starting to look at. But getting on the ground level, getting that survey done of what in essence we really need to do to be able to even think about starting to plug in 2, 3, 4, and then up to 155.
Yeah.
So, yep, we're starting that groundwork now. I honestly think they're going to postpone it and do some pilots with districts because I think they made 15 last year. So the market can't keep up with the timeline.
Absolutely. Agreed. All right, thank you.
Yep.
okay, moving on.
All right, next up is another roll call for the resolution approving a special meeting of the qualified voters on October 11th for a new proposition. Nothing's changed since the last workshop where we talked about, still $85 million, utilizing the $10 million in reserves, which is all spelled out in the proposition, and that we've this officially kicks off now to go down the road and begin a lot more of the legal documentation by the board passing this resolution as the first step.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
The one thing I also will point out too, the resolutions are written very generically, so you don't see the specificity, and that's on purpose in case, something goes amiss, or you always find something and it's like, well, no, you can't do that because it wasn't in the resolution. So you have very generic language about all the district buildings and, a whole list of different things that encompasses almost everything you could possibly think of.
Excellent. Okay, this one will require a roll call, but we need a motion to approve the resolution for a special meeting of the qualified voters of the Webster Central School District on October 11th, 2023, and proposition. May I have a motion? Charlie, and a second? Shanna, and roll call?
Okay, Shanna?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Thank you. And next?
Next up, the Schrader Emergency Project Resolution. I wish I would have been right after Joni's presentation talking about TJ and air quality, because this would have piggybacked off of it perfectly, with the Schrader Emergency Project. A couple things on this is, normally we have our insurance company involved in aspects like this, and they help, bring in claims adjusters and mitigators right off the bat to help get us rolling. But we're predicting now there's going to be some long-term type of fixes that need to happen, especially with the skylights. Some of the smoke damage is still being ascertained, and looking at that. So just as an additional kind of check and balance along the way is for the board to approve an emergency project resolution that we submit to SED that kind of helps us through the process. It's just another way because it accesses building aid. So if our insurance company comes back and says, you know what, we're not covering that because of whatever possible reason, like, hey, it's owner's fault, kind of like similar to a car accident, like, no, that's on you. Not that I'm saying that, just use it as an example, that the state, by going down this road, will qualify for building aid for anything we do. So still at about that 76%. I believe I put 75% on here just to give us a little flexibility in case, they drop our aid ratio into the future as well, or offset any of the costs. Any insurance funds we get would offset also building aid. So just trying to cross the T's and dot the I's and gives us the most and greatest flexibility with this moving forward.
Excellent. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Brian, would this help us expedite the repairs in any way?
So we're charging forward with that already. It's still a secure room because we don't have an official cause. I think there's still some air quality monitoring going on as well with the filtration system. So we're getting in there, but it's going to be a little bit once we start now pulling all the damaged stuff out. Do we have to rebuild some walls? Will we have to, seal off and mitigate because of asbestos concerns or vermiculite in the walls? So things we have to look at. So.
Any other questions? This also requires a roll call, so I need a motion to approve the emergency project resolution due to the fire at Webster Schrader High School. Jen, and a second. Mike and Lisa.
Okay, the roll call, Shanna?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Keep going.
All right.
Bus patrol agreement.
Bus patrol. So a little background, I uploaded some materials about bus patrol. So I want to say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, they approached us to look at adding the system to our buses. It was myself, several members of the transportation department, and Neil Flood that listened to their proposal at the time. But they could not answer one question at that time: is who issues the citations, who deals with our buses that are going to like 3 different counties amongst multiple jurisdictions. Is it Webster PD? Because it says Webster on the side, but what if somebody passes our bus that is dropping students off at North Star Christian Academy on the west side? Who's responsible then? We never got a solid answer. So fast forward 5 years later, now we do have a solid answer that Monroe County is taking the lead, which means then the Monroe County Sheriff's Department is taking the lead in issuing the citations. And it will come directly from them and from Bus Patrol. So this not knowing this is completely taken away. So because the county is doing that, we re-engaged with Bus Patrol. We actually did a study for a month because we're also curious, like, I get this for, maybe some districts that have a lot of 4-lane highways, a lot of, possibly, more difficult areas to traverse. It'll make sense, large county school districts down south and have started this, this is where it came from, or on Long Island. So we actually did a month worth of anytime a bus driver got passed on their reds, they would radio it in and we'd tally it. And it was over 250 times in 1 month. Wow. So we extrapolate that out, we're like, wow, this is a larger problem than we thought. So we immediately reached back out since the county was approving it. It's like, well, let's have a conversation now and talk about what you guys can do for us and what we can do. We've gone out to Hilton, who's one of the first districts to start this, to look at the system, and we're actually including, because it's zero cost, going to switch to their internal camera system as well, because it will give us live time look in, because the cameras are all synced, so they're feeding real-time information, and so we could pull up on the software and look on any bus's camera in real time. So it's a huge safety and security upgrade for us as well. To join that, there's a contract that Mr. Neenan will have to sign. I've included that into the packet. There's some information as well, but also this resolution that needs to be passed and included with the contract for Bus Patrol in the county. Questions?
So they say it's funded by violator fines, so.
Yep.
Is it points on the license or just a fine, or?
It builds, so I know it's $250 every violation.
Good to know.
Yep.
That was some of the data that Bus Patrol has, as well as, that's awesome data that we have in our own district, but the decline after Bus Patrol has come on in Long Island is a big test pilot for our state, because I think it's almost every district in Long Island is now participating in this, and the number of incidents drastically has declined since this.
And the spots where it's actually not on, there's some on busy roads, but a lot of it's in parking lots where, people not paying attention, a bus has its reds on, kids are coming out of a building, and somebody's flying on the other side of them. Those are the scenarios I think we worry more about than, stopping on Bay Road, because we can route that issue out of it. There's some places where we just can't route those issues, but, that's the majority of where these happen in the smaller confined spaces, in parking lots, or at, even dropping off at a field trip, Strong Museum, per se, like, parents driving there not paying attention that there's a field trip unloading, and, they go right through a line of 6 buses that are all sitting there. So, those are the more concentrated areas where it actually happens.
So what did we do before? Just nothing?
So we could radio it in, but if law enforcement wasn't there to witness it, they couldn't do anything.
Okay. Because I've seen it on Lake Road. I've seen some real scary ones.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've seen kids really, take a step into the road, because the kids have to remember to look at the bus driver who waves them across, who's looking both ways. And if the kids aren't paying attention, they're not looking at that bus driver, they just get off the bus and are going in their homes. And it's a relief to me that there's something that there will be, hopefully the repercussions will start to, like I said, have an effect on how many times people are passing buses.
Yeah.
And if there is an incident, if there were to be an incident, that camera would catch the whole thing, more than likely, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
On that side of the bus, yep.
Okay.
And now bus drivers don't have to worry about calling it in to manually tally.
Automatically.
Right, what's going on, that's automatically done, so.
Mhm. Yep.
Brian, who owns the video and the data from the footage?
We do.
Okay.
We have an Ed Law 2D rider as part of this.
Okay. Any other questions? None? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the bus patrol agreement and resolution? So moved. Shanna, and a second by Carol. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next up is our Monroe One BOCES Transportation Services contract. We're predicting this one's going to be around $850,000 for next year, but this always fluctuates. The backup data is there for how much of the service we're utilizing, but it could be less, it could be more. As long as we have the contract approved with BOCES, we adjust it on an ongoing month-to-month basis based on student need. So 1 month, we might ask them to pick up an extra couple kids if they have the capacity, or, you know, a couple kids move around, they don't need to do it anymore. So month to month, this transportation contract fluctuates, so.
Excellent. Any questions? None? Seeing none? May I have a motion to approve the BOCES transportation contract for the 2023-24 schools? By Mike, and a second by Jen. All in favor? Aye. None opposed? Motion carries. Next is the Bolter.
Next up is the lease agreement with Bolter for what is our tutoring center off of Basket Road. I'm going to re-up that for another couple of years here till. Did I upload the wrong one, I think? Nope, through June 30th, 2025. So for 2 years. A small increase in the monthly base rent for this over the 2 years, but pretty much in line with annual increases. So, yeah.
What is this used for again, Brian?
The tutoring center. It's
Tutoring center?
Tutoring center, yep. We made that change, I want to say, maybe 5-6 years ago. It used to be at Schrader, but then some problematic issues arise with suspending a student at Schrader, and then they're back the next day in the tutoring center at Schrader. So when we were looking at where we had available space that made sense, this was the space that we had.
Excellent. Any other questions? No?
In terms of the cost, the comparable cost between using this facility versus BOCES, is BOCES considered more expensive for tutoring?
Yeah, I don't even think BOCES would have the capacity to do what we do as far as tutoring, given our size.
Okay.
If we could, I don't think they could handle us sending tutoring students, whether they're out for medical or for suspension reasons, or, you know, whatever other social emotional needs perhaps that have popped up. They couldn't handle our numbers.
And we do use BOCES for a handful of our students.
Right.
Again, it's if we've gone beyond our capacity, or if there's extenuating circumstances that we need a remote option, we contract to BOCES still with that.
Is this a place we could visit at some time? You know, we visited all the schools, but.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, we went for the coffee cart, and yeah, we should have
did.
probably, sorry, no, it was.
Yeah, we did it for the coffee cart.
For the
like,
coffee
yeah.
cart,
I
but we
missed
will,
it.
We spent
no,
a
no,
good-
no, it was Brian and,
Janice, I think, the three
yeah.
of us. Yeah, and
So,
then-
but in the fall, we'll add that, I will put a
And Chris.
note.
And Chris,
Yeah, no,
Chris.
that's a,
It was great. We spent about
Yeah.
45
I
minutes
did-
with them.
I just
Yeah.
would like to see it.
it's
It
pretty
used
amazing.
to be, it used to be used for professional development.
I know
Yeah.
the building, but
Yep.
I just would like to see how it works someday.
Maybe we can have them on a campus news one day, too.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Can we have a motion to approve the Bolter Facility Rental Lease Agreement, please? Carol, and a second by Jen. All in favor? Aye. None opposed? Motion carries. Safety plan.
All right, next up is the final safety plan. We had no comments during the open comment period that were submitted. So this is the exact same plan you saw in May. So now it's just finalizing it so we can send it off to the state to put it on file. phenomenal work by the team. Thank you.
Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a motion to approve the safety plan for the 2023-2024 school year? Jen, and a second by Charlie. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Tax certiorari.
Last one. No, actually,
No, it's not. Tax certiorari.
So, yeah, a tax certiorari, this one we've had for, this has actually been only 1 year for 22-23. If you remember, it's like the Baytown complex, which sad, my favorite restaurant, Napa, they had a great spaghetti dish over there. I loved it. It has left. So, yeah, there's a couple, empty storefronts. So when it was challenge time, the assessor took a look over there and dropped their overall property assessment. So on their own, so it kind of settled the legal challenges without having to go through anything. But so they agreed to no refunds. So we're saving there about $282,000. So it's a good deal overall, given where commercial real estate is now. Just hope they put an ice cream shop in there because we could really use one on that side of town.
Does anyone have any questions?
When are you going to bring us one that went up? For us to approve?
I've brought ones that have stayed the same, which is the best I could do so far.
It's a goal for next year. All righty. May I have a motion to approve the resolution to settle the tax certiorari proceedings with DeMarco Baytown as recommended by our attorneys? Carol, and a second by Shanna. All in favor? Aye. None opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
All right. First contract for approval up is officially the AEOP labor contract. So if there's any other questions on that that wasn't supplied, I'm happy to answer them now. My friend, Mr. Swinson, over here.
Any questions? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the AEOP labor contract? So moved. Jen, and a second by Shanna. All in favor? Aye. No opposed? Motion carries. And next?
Next up is our Educational Support Staff Association labor contract. Any questions there that are still hanging out there?
None. Seeing no questions, may I have a motion to approve the ESSA labor contract, please? Carol, and a second by Mike. All in favor? Aye. None opposed. Motion carries. And next.
Completing it in alphabetical order, the WTA labor contract is next up for approval.
Okay. Any questions? No questions. May I have a motion to approve the WTA labor contract? So moved. Jen, and a second, Charlie. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Okay. And the next one, I think this is us, right? I think everybody's had an opportunity to read through the first read of sections 7,000 and 8,000 of our new policy manual. Does anyone have any questions for any of us?
Our workshop was great.
Thank you. And you'll be pleased to know we finished and we'll be bringing the first read to the next ones. We'll workshop it and then we'll bring the first read. So officially by summer, we will be done with our first read of our new policy manual. Yes. So with that said, may I have a motion to approve the first reading of the student and instruction policies before sending the policies to Erie 1 BOCES? Shanna, and a second. Mike, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That was a lot. Next on our agenda is board member highlights. So how about we start with Mike tonight? We'll go this way.
Thank you. One interesting thing with the DeWitt Road PTSA, they do an annual outdoor event in the spring, and they have run extension cords, and they weren't aware that Buildings and Grounds has generators. So I connected them with Blaine, and the team was great, and they were so excited. But I also brought that up with Plank Road North, and they weren't aware. So it may be something that either Central covers, or we get the message out that if they need something,
Brian
Buildings
Freeman
and
will do
Grounds
that for us.
is very happy to help out.
Bring the generators in for different events.
Yes.
Portable.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're portable
Wow.
ones, and that way they don't have extension cords running through the
Right.
windows and
People
everything.
are tripping over them. They're always trying to
Yeah.
keep them out of the way. Yeah.
No, we'll definitely get that message to our staff. We actually used one for our float when we had the holiday parade.
Very
One of
nice.
those same generators.
And that's all.
Thank you. Carol?
Been attending the Willing PTSA meetings on a regular basis, and I actually realized that I was really looking forward to going to the last one, because I've connected with the parents, and I didn't understand the value exactly. I thought, oh, well, we'll just go and give a report, and that's good. But really, I feel so connected to that school by talking to the parents, and I see how important it is for us as board members to attend. I mean, we just bonded. It was like somebody even cried a little about just how wonderful, how grateful they are for what's happening with the principal and the parent groups. So, and all the events, especially as they recover from the pandemic. That seemed to be an ongoing statement. So, yeah, I'm really pleased with doing that.
That's great.
So our PTSA meetings are scheduled right now. They're meeting at this moment. So they're doing great. It was a privilege to sit in and listen to them virtually, and hopefully we can look at some in-person options. I was also privileged to participate or be an observer of the Luminary Walk, which was great. See the community come out for that. And more recently at the History in the Making first sectional game for flag football. And it's great seeing our athletic director and superintendent present at those contests too. That's great.
Awesome.
Awesome for those girls.
One of the best additions to Webster is that flag football team.
I
So
know.
excited.
To every school. Every school has really embraced it.
Well, State Road is actually this Thursday.
Okay.
So I'm going to be playing by ear, but I'm thinking because my previous appointment will run late, so I'm going to try to go there rather than the goal.
Okay.
But this is their last meeting. I think they need the votes, so I'll make sure I'm there to support them in their decision-making, so. But yeah, and Clem South is wrapping up. We had our VIP dance where I injured my shoulder and having too much fun with the kids, but that's okay. And then, yeah, just looking forward to starting up next year. And we're finding a lot of the schools are doing these bigger fundraisers, which is great because it's one big fundraiser, and that money is usually, they can utilize it the whole year. And actually, a lot of the programs are now free, which is great for our families. So one-time fundraising turns into a free dance for the entire building, which was really lovely, so.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. It's nice seeing things now that we're able to give them to everybody, instead of paying for it. I think that's great. End of year activities, woo! Isn't everybody busy? So I agree, Carol. That's one of the things that's been so nice is that you really bond with your school. And so I've really loved that too. So Thomas they do these Bravo cards, and I don't know if all the schools do them, but anybody can write out a note to any of the performers for any of the events. They do them for concerts, plays, anything. And then there's a teacher that goes around the next day and delivers those Bravo cards to the students in school, and they get them. And one of the things I've really loved is volunteering for that, because I've seen people, they don't even know some of the students, they just think they did an excellent job. And they look at their name in the thing here, and they write them a note just saying, great job, and it gets delivered to them. And so it's been such a great way. I think the kids really love it. And it's such an easy way for us, not for the teacher who hands them out, to be able to appreciate kids. So I've loved that. Chalk the Walk did not work at all for anybody for end of year because of all that rain. But we did hand out blow pops. I wish it had been at the end of the day, because coming in, kids are like, it's like going to work. You're like, and then, I'm sure when they came out, there would have been like big smiles. But we got to hand out lots of suckers. Clem North had their kindergarten concert. And PTSA, like we've talked about, has done a really amazing job this year, and it's such a pleasure to work with them. And that's what makes, working with them in the schools has been really wonderful. That's the part of being on the board, being able to like say hello to people and just greet them and see their smiles. Even at the community vote, like it's something I think we get such a pleasure to be able to do for us. Thank you, Mike, for all of your insight onto the board. It has been a roller coaster, and nobody really understands the commitment that it really is until you're in it, and it's 4 years, so thank you for the time that you put on the board. I was very sad, but I'm happy for you that you're moving on, but I definitely appreciate, and I was sad you're not staying on, appreciate your insight and your honesty into everything that goes on with the board, so thank you. And I also want to thank everybody for what happened at Schrader with the fire, right? That had to have been really scary for kids. And I have to say, I heard some kids they didn't know it was a fire. They thought it was a drill, which is really it says something really great about the school. So thank you to everyone in the district that worked so hard, because pulling that event off, right, an emergency like that in the middle of the day with preschoolers in the same building and getting everyone home and not losing anyone for such an emergency, like those are, it's our kids, and so they are in such good hands with the district. Thank you for taking care of all of our kids and our students and getting everybody home safe. That's a huge event to have happen and to handle so beautifully with our first responders, so thank you. And then 2 more things. Webster Waste Treatment Plant gives tours. And it's a really great, they had mentioned specifically that they would love to see students. It's a great opportunity for science classes if they want to take their kids somewhere and actually see how bacteria works, anaerobic, aerobic, and see how it works in our community. It's a smelly tour, but it's really amazing. And I just wanted to roll it out to people that you can bring your kids there and they can breathe through their mouth and they'll get through it. And then just keep their mouth closed when they get to certain parts. But yeah, I just want to throw that out there for teachers, it's a resource for us, for our students, for biology and science. And then I'm super happy Pride Month, and I love seeing the district celebrate in various ways with all the kids, and it's a great way to go out, for the school year.
Thanks.
Thank you. I had the privilege of being at Schrader this morning to hand out the lollipops, and I'll tell you, the UPK students were handing out the lollipops, and it was probably one of the sweetest things because they couldn't wait. And the older kids were fist bumping and hugging, and so the connection between UPK and high school is real and palatable, and it was unbelievable, so it was great. And then I got to walk through the hall and see all of the seniors get their caps and gowns, so it's a pretty exciting time in our district, so thank you to everybody. And just to piggyback on the wastewater treatment plant thing, on June 24th, from 10 a.m. to 2, there is a drug take-back at the wastewater treatment plant, so you can drop your unused medications and get a tour.
Nice.
But they will be there, yes, a 2-for-1. So if you have any unused medications and you want to get rid of them, that is the time to do it. And that's all for me. And then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Everybody has had an opportunity to look at the consent agenda, which is approval of the meeting minutes, personnel actions, recommendations on the Committee of Special Education, preschool education, and I believe there's some bids in there, and also a trip. So with that, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
So moved by Jen, and a second by Carol. All in favor? Aye. No opposed. Motion carries. And it looks like we're at visitor speaking time, and I don't think anyone signed up, and there's no one in the audience. So
the gavel
I
out,
will
huh?
give you the honor.
So first, do we have a motion to end the meeting? Shanna? Carol? The board meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.